On the 25th, Mr. Stauch, Owl, I guess, drove to Denver and spent the night, and then he took a flight to Dallas the following morning on January 26th. So the 25th, he drove to Denver. The 26th, he took a flight to Dallas. On January 27th, early in the morning, Letecia asks her phone some questions. She writes as if she's having a conversation with Google. She said, "My son burned the carpet. How do I fix it?" That was at 12:09. Then at 12:42, she asked, "Will humidifier help if exposed to smoke?" Then at 12:43, she said, "Smoke effects. Will humidifier help?" Then at 12:43 again, she said, "Smoke from the effects. Will humidifier help?" Then at 12:55, she asked, "Colorado law for kid stating at home," but I think she meant staying at home. Then at 12:57, she asked, "School is out. Is it okay for my kid to stay home alone?" Then at 1:01 in the morning, she said, "Son is sick, but I have to go to work." That was a Google search. Then at 1:03, she said, "Son's sick. Can he stay home?" Then at 4:40 in the morning, she asked, "Suede repair kit for sofa," but she spelled it like IDT for kit. She's all over the place. Gannon stays home from school. Letecia advises the school he wasn't going to attend due to a stomach issue. Gannon school was Grand Elementary School. Her excuse to her employer that she sent out at 4:37 a.m. was that her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car and she would not be able to go to work. Then at 8:13 and 8:17 that same morning, so that was 4:37 when she contacted work, at 8:13, 8:17 in the morning, she took 2 photographs of Gannon in his bed. I don't know if that was to show Al that he was sick and in bed, or what the reasoning was for taking those photos. You can speculate all day long. The house was 6627 Mandan Drive. As you can see, 6627 right there. And this image is from September 2019. So just 5 months or so, actually about 4 months before he was killed. At 9:56 in the morning, so after she took those photos, about an hour and a half later, she locks her phone, and I guess she leaves it at the house, okay? Then at 10:16 a.m., the Nissan Frontier leaves, and it is caught on surveillance, leaving the home. She backs in, and then right around 10:16, you see, I'm just going to go scrub it forward. Everybody's seen it. There's Gannon right there getting into the vehicle. And then she drives away at 10:16, right there, okay? Then at 11:22, there's a receipt from Petco, and actually it matches up there. They have her on camera there, but they can't see Gannon in the store. Then between 11:22 and 1:22, her whereabouts are unknown. So there's a 2-hour gap right there of unknown location. There's no information of where she was. I'm sort of wondering if she knew that her Frontier didn't have any GPS or a way to track it, and that's why she left her phone at home, or she just may have been lucky not realizing that you couldn't track that she was just lucky that they weren't able to track the truck, the Frontier. All right, so there's no information of where she was between 11:22 and 1:22. And then at 12:06, during the time that they're gone, Gannon's phone receives a text message from his father, and he says, hey buddy. And then Gannon's phone replied, "Can I play Zelda at least?" Okay, so when you read that, it sounds like they had already been having a conversation. And we don't really know what that is because that information wasn't provided. Maybe it said something else. Hey, can I do this? Can I do that? But at the same time, this "Can I play Zelda at least?" most likely was a response Letecia put on Gannon's phone. That's my opinion, okay? All right, then at 1:27, on the same date, 1:27:20, at 1:22, she's seen at Petco again, so that's why there was that gap. Then at 1:22, boom, she's at Petco again, and again, you can't see Gannon. Then at 10, and then there's a note here, between 10:12 and 2:22, there's no activity on their ADT security at their home. And actually, if you go to the Google Earth here, so look at that, you can see the ADT sign right there. School is out, is okay. This is at 12:57 and 1:01. Son is sick, but I have to go to work. And then at 1:03, she says, son sick, can he stay home? And then finally, Al replies to the son's question up here about can I play Zelda at least? At 1:21, Al replies, not today. Gannon wouldn't type like that is what I don't think Gannon would have typed in, can I play Zelda, and using the word, I mean, at least. A kid that old doesn't type like that. That's too, but again, neither, well, here's what I would say. I would actually say it's more likely in some ways that Gannon would type like that than her idiot stepmother who can't type at all. She's a moron, okay? So, you know, I guess it's possible he typed that, but, and it felt like there must have been another conversation going on as well. That was at 1:21, then at 1:22, so she was probably sitting in the car in the parking lot or inside Petco. She's walking around, and during that time she's in Petco, a text is received on Gannon's phone that says not today. Now I'm assuming she's holding his phone and saw that, okay? And then at 1:22, they're seen checking out at Petco. So again, there's no activity from 10:12 to 2:22 at their home security system. Then at 1:43, a text from Gannon by Letecia that says, can my parent find my cell phone? All right, so it was on Gannon's phone, and she said, can my parent find my cell phone, dot, if it's off, and that little dot after phone is what is one of the signatures in Letecia's idiotic typing, okay? So you got the dot there, all right? So that was made at 1:43, because now the wheels are turning in her head. She's really starting to try to get this thing figured out. I'm actually wondering if during that 2 hours she actually scouted out where she was going to put him, but knew that her vehicle wasn't going to be tracked and her phone wasn't with her. So, gosh, I mean, and these Google searches, I wonder if some of those are voices or she's just typing this in. I don't know if she's talking to her phone, but in some ways it feels like she could be taunting Gannon, like he's sitting in the car and she's saying, smoke effects, will humidifier help? Yeah, well, hey, listen, there's no answer here. Look at the smoke from fire, you know, getting really pissed at him this whole time, right? And then at, let's see, 2:19, the Nissan Frontier returns, and it says, cannot be sure. Notice how they say, they can't be sure if they see another person exit the vehicle. Okay, and as I've shown you guys 1,000 times, I think you can see that somebody does return, you just can't tell who. Okay, so there's 51 frames of still frame, meaning it didn't capture, it just kept the still frame there. Then there's, so about for 3 seconds there was probably a shadow here. And you can see it right where my arrow is, right there, and then it actually goes off to the right. And that's where I was saying that somebody did exit that car. I think it was Gannon, because it's exactly placed between this shadow being this car and this car over here is this shadow. It's right in between them. That means he just got out of the car on the other side. But since you can't see Gannon, law enforcement has to say that they can't be sure, because they literally can't see him just like the rest of us, okay? Yeah, and that was on surveillance footage. And here, I'll show you exactly what we're looking at here. It's only 2 houses away. They were saying, oh, it's several houses away, but actually It's right here. And as a matter of fact, let's see. Let me get to the right. There, that one, and it's this house right there. And if you zoom in right here, you can see the actual camera right there, right by the dancing person on the screen, right there. That's the camera that caught the movement. Then at between 2:20 and 2:45, motion up and downstairs inside the house. So right after they got into the house, there was motion upstairs and downstairs. At 2:45, Letecia unlocks her phone 25 minutes after arriving home, and that was considered strange because she's basically attached at the hip to her phone and always needs to be using it every second, and she waited a while to turn it on. Okay, then at 3:11, Lena, the daughter, is observed, and it's also her stepdaughter too, was observed returning home, and Lena stated that she returned home. Letecia told her Gannon was asleep in her bed and that she could not see him. She was told to go outside and play. Then at 3:30, you do see Lena is seen on surveillance footage riding her bike around. They do state it in here, and I would probably say it myself, is that when anybody's trying to fashion a good lie, they add a lot of truths into it. Things that, people will actually be able to verify, and then they, appears like they might be telling the truth. And then between 3:30 and 4:30, Letecia claims she was raped by a man named Eduardo. I'm just throwing this in there just because it's part of a timeline. The back door of the main floor of the residence was opened 10 times. So she says she was raped down in the basement, right? But during that time, the door on the main floor, the back door, was opened 10 times. And then Letecia also made a phone call. So I guess the guy that's raping her said, hey, do you need to call anybody? So she gets on the phone, and then she text messages people from 3:41 to 4:20. So, that right there just proved that she was full of crap. So at 3:55, Al sends text again, hey, buddy, between 8:30 and 4:15 p.m. So 8:30 in the morning and 4:15 p.m., Harley was at work. Okay, so that is a fact that's known. Then at 4:42, Harley arrived in her white VW Jetta and picked up Lena. Okay, and then just 7 minutes later, or 10 minutes later, so she must have said, hey, can you pick me some stuff at the store? I'll send you a text or something. And then at 4:52, when I'm saying she, I'm saying Letecia probably told Harley, take Lena to the store and I'll text you. Then at 4:52, Letecia texts Harley requesting carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda, items likely used to clean up the crime scene. Okay, and then at 5:14, carpet cleaner, trash bags, baking soda, baby oil, baby lotion, cotton rounds, and bubble gum. The later items were personal items that Harley purchased for herself. The other items were purchased as per Letecia's text message at 4:52. Baking soda and vinegar can be used to clean blood. Applying baking soda prior to the vinegar is very effective for removing blood stains. Okay, that was all noted in the affidavit. Okay, so that was 5:14. Then at 6:55, Letecia reported Gannon missing. And then at 7:40, the Hey Buddy, the last Hey Buddy text that was at Hey Buddy text finally read. It was finally read, but it wasn't responded to. Sorry, there was no response to it, but it was read. So that means she picked up Gannon's phone, read the message, but didn't reply. Sort of almost subconscious, like, well, he's dead. How could he reply? And then at 10:09, deputies arrive on the scene. So they took them 3 hours to get there. The body-worn camera, or body BWC, captures Letecia give permission to search the house. It also shows Letecia's Volkswagen Tiguan backed into the garage. And then it turns out blood was later found in the garage below where the rear hatch of where the T-Gon was parked. So like right below where you would open up the hatch, right below that they found blood on the ground. So at 4:15 in the morning on the 28th, she does a search. What is the process for our runaway child? It's weird how she types shit like this. It's just so dumb. Police steps for our runaway. And at 4:16, police steps for our missing child. And then at 4:36, today's flight, and I don't know if it says like OKC to, it's hard to read it, to maybe like Colorado Springs perhaps. Okay, so what she was looking for was what time was the flight from, I think she meant to put Dallas, right? Wouldn't it have been Dallas? Or maybe her husband went from Dallas to OKC and then there, I don't know. But yeah, so it was, maybe she was looking up the time the flight came in. Okay, so that was 4:36 a.m. Then at 8:30 a.m., she enters the short-term parking area with her T-Gon at the Colorado Springs Airport. And here's the, where the planes pull in, right? And then right here is, if you go down to Street View, right there, and you zoom, look right there, short-term parking. Okay, so she probably pulled in there with her T-Gon and parked anywhere. I mean, look how massive that is. So she parked the T-Gon there, and I believe that at that time, while the car was parked in this parking lot, Gannon's body is in the trunk of that T-Gon. Okay. Letecia drives to Colorado Springs Airport in the morning in her T-Gon. Gannon's body is likely in the trunk. She then rents a 2019 Kia Rio from Avis Rent-A-Car. She picked up Al at the Colorado Springs Airport around 8:50, driving the Kia at this point. She left the T-Gon at the airport short-term parking lot. This keeps Al from possibly seeing what was in the trunk, either while being picked up or after arriving back home. During the time frame the Kia was rented, Letecia would not provide the location of the T-Gon. So while she had the Kia, she'd never told anybody where the T-Gon was. Okay? So that, that was at 8:50. So right now the T-Gon is parked in the short-term parking lot and the Kia is on its way home with Al. Okay, then at around 1 o'clock, 12:57, Letecia searches using the phone, can Nintendo find my Switch? I think at that moment the Switch is in the trunk of the T-Gon at the airport. At 4:18 p.m., she searches for CarNet Volkswagen, and that's sort of this thing that locates your car for Volkswagens, and that a T-Gon is, I think, a Volkswagen, right? So she was probably nervous. Wow, can they track? Right at that moment, she's wondering. That's why it was cool to put it in the order that I have it, because it wasn't in this order. Right at this moment, she's wondering if they can track the Switch and can they track her car, using CarNet. Okay? So she's, throughout that day, she's just going, God, man, she was just really paranoid. And then, let's see, between 4 and 4:17, the investigators wanted to get Gannon's toothbrush. She got paranoid. Was messaging her husband about it. But then we go back down. Now we're at 7:02. The T-Gon then leaves the airport at 7:02. So she got a ride from someone to the airport and then got her T-Gon. But at the same moment, the Kia Rio is still at her house, probably. Okay? Then at 8:30 to 10:20, the T-Gon is driving around in the area where his body was dumped that we showed. And particularly between 9:16 and 9:28. Yeah, so after they got the T-Gon data later, they were able to map it all out and the timing of everything. So that's what we're looking at right here. I have it listed as A, B, 9:16, then C is right around here at 9:18, D, 9:19, E, 9:19 again. Then F is back here at 9:20. But then look at this craziness. At 9:23, she gets to here. That means there's a 3-minute sort of, it's really slow right here. Okay? And this is in the evening. So that means, I think during that 3-minute period, I think they can isolate when the body was dumped down to a 3-minute period. Because she drove up that way, then turned around because she probably thought, God, that looks like a good spot. And then dumped his body like right back in this area. Somewhere right around in here. Okay? Doesn't that make sense? Then at 10:26 that night, after Letecia dumps Gannon's body, Harley leaves the house. See, this part here is crazy. I didn't really pick up on it before. So it's almost absolutely perfect timing. So she would have driven back into Colorado Springs, Letecia, but she didn't want to bring the car home. Okay, so she wanted to park it in some random parking lot somewhere. And at 10:26, after Letecia dumps Gannon's body, Harley leaves the house and picks Letecia up at Powers and Carefree Street. All right, there you go. And so look how just random this is. Look how many places in this spot. She could park in this lot. She could park in this one. Hell, even over there. Over here. It's just a perfect place to put your car, hide it, and nobody would ever even know. All right, so that was at 10:26, right? And now, so at this time, Letecia's stewing in her mind about the whole thing. Have I done everything? She's just really whirling in her mind because she knows the police are onto her. So after Letecia dumps Gannon's body, Harley leaves the house and picks Letecia up at Powers and Carefree Street, and that's at 10:26. Okay, Letecia then, right when she gets home, I think. I mean, this is at 10:45, so maybe it's on the way home or she's already at home. She's stewing around, and then she messages a detective. What do you want from me? Because I have nothing. One of your very own linked to me what you guys were doing. Wait, hold on, let me do that.
What do you guys want from me? Because I have nothing. One of your very own linked to me what you guys were doing. I did nothing and or am being set up. I'm not really even sure, other than being told that... I can't do it, man.
Forget it. I can't do it. Just can't do it. It makes me laugh, all right? I was told I couldn't go home to sleep, and on top of that, men were sent to a home with a minor female. So now she's trying to, like, accuse the police of some sort of sexual, perversion. I mean, she's just a wacko, okay? Yeah, men were sent to a home, meaning your home, with a minor female, and she was forced to stay there, not to even leave for food. Oh, they tortured her too, even. Every conversation that said, even at this moment, you're just the worst writer I've ever seen. I can hear inside. What do you want from me? Detective replied, yeah, well, we just want you to, he said, come in and talk to me. I would just like information to find Gannon. So what's interesting is his response is sort of how you would hope that a caring mother might be sounding like, but it had nothing to do with Gannon. Her message didn't even mention Gannon's name one time. Okay, so that is 10:45 p.m. is when that conversation went on. On January 29th at 9 a.m., Letecia dropped off the Kia and was then picked up by Harley in her white Jetta. So that to me means that, she just followed her there and she dropped the Kia off and then she got a ride back into town in Harley's vehicle with Harley, okay? It says the location of the Tiguan is unknown from 7:02 p.m. on January 28th until approximately 12 p.m. on January 29th when she met with the detectives. So check this out. Letecia, at 11:30 on the 29th, okay, Letecia washes the Tiguan at Power Wash. And the location of the vehicle is consistent with the computer system on the Tiguan. So when they reviewed and got all the data from the Tiguan, it shows that she washed your car at a particular car wash. Okay, and this is where she washed your vehicle at 11:30 on the 29th. Then at noon, Letecia meets with investigators. She was supposed to be there at 10 a.m., but maybe she needed time to clean the vehicle, and shows up in the T-Gon, and it had been freshly washed. The police noticed that. Letecia's T-Gon is seized via a search warrant, and subsequently tests were done and blood was detected. Blood on the rear passenger seat, front passenger seat, and near the glove box. Swabs from the inside of the trunk were negative. These are tests that they had done, and it came back with this. Blood was also found on rear bumper and step plate. This blood location is consistent with the blood found in the garage as the T-Gon was backed in. So the same blood that they found on the ground, it matches up. Same location. The blood that they found in the garage floor of where the trunk hatch would open, and everything matches up perfectly. Then, let's see, on the 29th, Letecia rents, they don't have a time, but on the 29th, after her car was taken from her, she rents a Nissan Altima, since her T-Gon is now in custody, via a warrant. Police were able to place a tracking device on the Altima. So I think the police, I don't know what their warrant said on there, but for that particular thing to put that tracking device, but they really dropped the ball or something. I think they should have been able to find Gannon way prior. They should have had somebody tailing her. If you're at the point where you're putting a tracking device, you should be following her, at least, well, I guess that's what the tracking device is for, is like you don't have to follow her. But shouldn't you be getting updates of where she was and what's going on? Or is it something you have to take off the car again in the future, like a trail camera, and look through the data? To me, it's mind-boggling, okay? Then between 4:16 and 5:13 on the 31st, okay, so this is 2 days later, the Nissan Altima, the car she rented because her T-Gon was, or T-Gon, whatever the hell how you call it, was seized by the police. So on the 31st, the Nissan Altima pings near that same area, the 105 South Perry Road area, the same location Letecia was in on the 28th around 9:15, right? So she's out there. This is between 4:16 and 5:13 p.m. on January 31st. So let's go out there. These are the other pings. This is their tracking device. Look at this. So they have one, this is in order here. This is at 4:16, 4:31, and then right here at 4:41. Up here was 4:31. The one, yeah. So it goes 1, 2, and then down in this area, right there. So she's right near where the body was, right off the side there. And we know that is correct because remember we went through this. These are the people that are sifting right here. And we found this exact location. These are the people sifting. And they're sifting in the snow. There you go. Well, there's that green fence. So they were sifting right along here. This is exactly where Letecia dumped Gannon's body. I wouldn't be surprised if she got out and put him behind these trees here. Then she got paranoid on the 31st, drove back out there to check to see if he was still hidden, and maybe even got out of her car again and got, well, that's kind of a dumb time though, because it was only 4 something it was during rush hour, basically. So maybe she just drove by to make sure that even driving by, you wouldn't notice him. I mean, there's going to be more information that comes out later, because obviously there was another point where... See, here's the thing is, you know, how come they... If they had just tracked her live, you know, where was she going? They would have known that she stopped right there. And then they would have been able to find his body even. But even if not, they should have been on her ass. I mean, when she went and got him the second time to drive him way down to Florida somewhere. Don't you think? I mean, something didn't work right here. Okay, then it moves forward in the time. On 2/12, February 12th, searches focus on... They then started looking in that area. See, doesn't that's what bothers me. On the 12th, that means 12 days after she was actually in that area the second time. That's when they finally went out there after reviewing the data on their tracking device. Then they went out there. Then on the 15th, in that area, because they searched all around. You guys remember how when they were searching, then the next day they beat another area. And man, I tell you what, if I was the one that was reviewing that data, I would have went right on that curve immediately, seeing that there was a 2-minute gap in time there, because I was actually looking at that myself, and then was commenting in my Excel spreadsheet, and then I saw down below later they think she stopped for a little bit. Okay, but how long did it take you to review this information? On the 15th, searchers located a piece of particle board. It took them 3 days to find something back there that had a stain consistent with blood, and the test showed that it was Gannon. Did it all just kind of make sense? I tried to put it all in order, because when you go through the document, it's not chronological a lot of the time. You go to a certain spot, and then it goes back in time, and then it says, oh yeah, we found out later that she did this, 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 and this. So I'm just putting it in to the timeline in the order that it happened.